name is Susan. Hope you're enjoying the craft show. I wanted to say hi and introduce me because people might know me from different places. So if you're on Instagram a lot or on YouTube, you might know me as Measure Twice, Cut Once. Or you might be one of the many people I've taught to sew at Bobbin and Ink here in Sydney. So sometimes people are like, are you the same person? Yes, I am the same person, and yes, I do a lot of things. So I'm always in different spots around. Today I want to talk to you about Hatch. Hatch is software that works for machine embroidery. So I know we've got some keen quilters here and some hand embroiderers and sewers of all different kinds. And what I find about machine embroidery is it just adds a whole new element to the type of sewing that you want to do. So I first came across machine embroidery when I was a fashion student. They opened it up and let us in the lab and I was just like, oh wow. It can do that, because it was the first time I had seen an actual machine stitching out the embroidery. And ever since then, I've just been totally hooked on how I can make it do things. So I primarily work in garment things, but it can work for garments, it can work for quilts, it can work for so much more. So today I'm going to talk you through a few elements of what Hatch does, as a little bit of an introduction. If anyone has any more questions, please come on down to the Hatch stand. The team's going to be there. They can answer all of your questions about all different aspects of digitizing and machine embroidery as well. So in order to use Hatch, you don't need very much. You need a computer which can run the software, and then you need an embroidery machine. So today we're going to jump right in with some auto-digitizing. Auto-digitizing is one of the fastest ways to get you started in creating your design. And so what you'll find is in Hatch, there are 10 different tools which help with auto-digitizing. 7 of the tools are done for nice, clean, crisp artwork, and then 3 of them are dedicated to photo stitch. So already throughout the show I've had people come up and they've had photos and they've shown me the grandkids or the dogs or the cat. So there's different styles of auto-digitizing depending on your end one. So we're going to start, we're going to insert some artwork. We are going to use some artwork which is built into Hatch, but you can bring in any artwork. So if you can draw a little bit, or maybe the kids are drawing, or you can get it from somewhere, you're going to bring in that artwork. And here we're just selecting the ladybug, it's a cute little design, and we're going to resize it. If you resize your artwork before you start digitizing, you're going to end up with a better stitch out because you can match it to your hoop size. Inside of Hatch, you can choose whatever kind of machine that you have and your hoop size and set your artwork to that size so that you're good to go. Once you've got that, we're going to go across, we're going to select the artwork, so it's got little dots around the outside, and we're going to auto-digitize. And now we've got an embroidery, we can literally go straight to stitching. It's that fast. But we know a little bit about embroidery and we want to be nice to our embroidery machines, so we're going to do a little bit extra. We're going to save this one and then we're going to try a different version with the auto-digitizing. And this time we're going to start looking at the different sections. So always save your artwork as you go along. Again, insert artwork, and we're showing you twice so you can just sort of remember some of these things. With this one, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the order in which we stitch things. So particularly if you've got a single needle machine, you don't want to be sitting there doing trims every 3 seconds because it gets a little tedious and it's not great in terms of the stitching out. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a little bit of our embroidery knowledge and we're going to reorder our colours so that it works more efficiently. So efficiency works in terms of not only making it a little bit faster, but it makes it a better embroidery as well. So here we've got our 3 colours, and we're actually going to slide the white colourway into a different position for when it stitches. In doing this, Hatch then automatically calculates all of your runs between the actual dots of the lady beetle here to make it so that they all join together. So you manually don't have to go in there and do it. Of course, you could manually go in there and do it, but you know, the software will do it for us, so we can make that do it for us. So here we can look at all of the different objects and the different parts of the design. We're just going to turn the red part off so we can see the white. And now we can see all those little connectors that Hatch has put in for us. So now instead of having, 10 different trims, we have one, which makes it a lot faster and a lot neater when it comes to doing the embroidery. And it's really simple. Again, we keep saving things. Whenever we're saving in Hatch, you can also export to your own design. I can talk a bit more about that later on. But maybe you're not ready for auto-digitizing. Maybe you're not, I'm not really super arty, I don't want to do some drawings, but you've got a lot of designs that maybe came with your machine or that maybe you purchased, and you're like, I don't like those colours, or I'm going to do the embroidery for someone and they've got a very strict colour palette for their house and everything's got to be tones of grey or, something like that. So this is when we can use Hatch to change colours for us. Here we've got 2 flowers and we're going to change the colourways of one of the flowers. You can see on the side we've got the docker open where it's got all of the elements showing up as well. And when we change our colours, we can either do it directly on the flower or on the elements. I like doing it directly to the flower because I'm a very visual person and I don't want to accidentally do the wrong part. So that's the part I always like. We're going to choose our colour and then we're going to use the paint bucket and click on our flower to actually change the colour. So once we click with our little bucket, it's going to change to being pink in this case. But you can make the colour change work for anything. Not only can you change it to be different colourways to maybe match someone's colour scheme, you can also make it match, maybe you're like, oh, I've got this design, I want to stitch it out, but I've run out of red thread. How will it look with a different colour? So it helps you be a little bit thrifty with your threads and gets you a little bit further along so you don't have to digitise everything new. Sometimes it's just a new colourway. Here we've now changed both of the colours. You can see over in the docker, it has changed the colours in the docker and it has updated our thread chart. So in the updating of the thread chart, that's when you can start to look at it and be like, oh, I've got those colours, I need to change that one, I don't have that particular shade. So it's a really great way to use up what you already have. Be sure to save it as a separate design though, because you don't want to go over the one you've just done, particularly if maybe you're doing your logo for, the son's business and he only wants navy and you're like, oh, I'll give him a different colourway. Make sure you've saved it in a different colourway because otherwise you're going to end up with it all in the one. Lettering is another reason that's a really great way to get into digitizing. I know we've got lots of quilt people today, and one of the things I really love about quilts is I love reading that little label on the back which says, from grandma with love, or, it really personalises it and makes the person know that they love it. So I'm going to show you how to do a little quilt label. So I'm going to open up a new design. And this time we're just going to be talking about the lettering of the design. And Hatch has got really fantastic lettering, which we're going to talk on through. So we're going to go to the lettering, it's going to open up the docker on the other side. We're going to go to our text box. We're just going to type into our text box. And here you can type, we're going to do a little one with love. And we're going to put the date on it because, we always like to date our quilts so that we know when they've been made and who they're going to. And, I just spoke to a lady who started her quilt when her son was 2 and he's now 20 and just got it. So, that happens too. So we've put in the date and we've looked at the sizing. And this is where Hatch's lettering really comes into its own. All of the ones with the little red squiggle there that you can see, these are professionally digitized fonts. They are built for embroidery. You'll see next to them when you pull up the full docker, they've got a little size next to them. And what you want to do is if you stick inside that size, beautiful embroidery. Really, really nice because it's professionally done just for embroidery. And you can see all of the different size recommendations. We can change our sizing, stick within the recommendations and you'll be fine. We can change our fonts. So we can choose different styles of ones. And anytime we're like, yep, that's the one for me, it's the correct size, we can export it and it's ready to stitch. You're good to go. What we also have inside the fonts is we have different types of fonts. So we have our specific embroidery fonts, but inside Hatch you also have KDC fonts or keyboard design collections, which means that they're kind of slightly fancier. We've got some really beautiful ones stitched out on the stand. We might use those for different elements. But you can also use any of the true type fonts that are built into your computer. So maybe you have a graphics program or different things and you've got lots of different fonts. What Hatch will do is it will apply stitches to those fonts and create them into stitched out pieces for you. If you're using a true type font, Hatch does a great job in actually checking it out. But what you might want to do is you might want to do a bit of cleanup. You might want to, increase the size inside the O's or the zeros, check your R's. It's just, you've got to be a little bit more of a check over with that one. You don't have that same confidence that you do with the professionally designed ones, but it gets you so much there faster than what you would do if you actually had to draw the whole font out yourself. So that's a really great one. You can see a true type font is showing up and it has a TT symbol next to it, as opposed to the red squiggle, which denominates the specific embroidery ones. Also over on the docker, you can see all of the different shapes we can do with the lettering. It's in the ABCs. You can change the baselines, you can make them go around a circle. So your quilt label doesn't just have to be square, it can match whatever design it is. I saw some beautiful circle designs coming around in the different quilts. So you can match your label to the style of the quilt, which is a really nice thing to do after you've put so much time and effort into designing out your quilt as well. If you've decided you want to change out your font, maybe add the name of the person instead of just saying, from grandma, you can also just go back up into that text docker at any time and keep adding in any text that you want in there, and it will just keep adding to it. You don't have to do a new design every time. Maybe you want your lettering to be a little bit fancier though, because lettering is great when we want to say something or write a letter or a note really, which is what a quilt label is, but maybe we want to do something a bit fancier. Monograms is a great way to do that, and we use a lot of monograms for really great gifts, things like towels or personalising things. Business shirts is a great one. If anyone is using Hatch to maybe earn some money, monograms is a great way for that as well. So again, we're going to start out by starting up with a new design. And we're going to go to lettering and monogramming on the side again, but we're going to go to monogramming this side, and it's going to pull up the 4 monogramming tabs. Now in the docker, the 4 tabs are designs, letters, ornaments, and borders. And these are infinitely interchangeable. I'm going to show you how to do a fairly basic kind of monogram, but what you'll actually find is you can keep changing to it. You can have multiple borders, you can have multiple elements, multiple colours, because all of this is there for you to choose from. So you can, I don't even know if we've done the maths on how many variations you could do, but I'm guessing it's going to be a lot because there are so many iterations of what you can do. We've chosen our design, but we're like, don't really like that font. Let's change out that font to something new. Change out our font, and then we're like, oh, well, maybe the border could be fancier, maybe we could do something else. So we're changing out things. You can change your sizing, and again, all of your fonts are there just from what we've spoken about with the lettering from just before. Change out your borders. What you can see with your borders, they'll automatically resize, and then you're like, okay, well, now my ornament doesn't look so great with my borders, so I can change those. And when I change out my ornaments, you can choose from motif and designs. And when we do that, we're going to turn on True View. So True View allows you to look at the stitches as if they were stitched out. So it's a much more realistic version, which is really great for those of us who are very visual people. It means we get to see how it looks. Once we've chosen it, we can actually then, you can see on the side docker, we can tell it where to go. Do we want them above? Do we want them to the side? Which direction do we want them to be? We click, and it does it. We can see all of our different elements here. When we save something in Hatch, it's saved as an EMB, we want to save this as an object. And the reason we want to save it as an object is maybe we're doing this to get an approval for a client or a fussy kid or something like that. So if we save it like an object like this, it is infinitely changeable. We can bring it back in, we can change all of these elements individually. So if you save it like that, it means we can keep going back, changing it, doing it our different options as many times as you would like. So here we've decided, okay, maybe we would like our little elements to be some different colours. We can click on them, change all of the colours. Again, you can match it to your thread chart, and if you have a favourite brand of thread, you can set Hatch to only show those thread colours as well. You don't have to use the sort of more generic colours that are in there. You can set it to your thread chart as well. And we're always reminding you to save things, because we always want to make sure that you continue to save things. You will save things as an EMB file type. Then once you are ready to stitch it to your machine, you will export it as the file type for your machine. So say you may have multiple machines, maybe you've got a Janome and a Brother and a FAF, you can actually export it for 3 different machines. It is always best to get the best quality stitch out to export it of your stitch one for your machine, because your machine's going to do a better job. So now I'm just going to show you some extra fun things that are built into Hatch that make me a better digitizer and are a really great way for beginners to see what they are doing and learn how the different elements work together. So these are, I'm going to show you some player things first. So I've put my design into True View, which is where it looks like it's actually stitched out, and now I'm doing the player. I am playing it a little slower than I normally would, but that's just so I can talk at the same time. But here, what I'm looking at is I'm looking at how it's stitching out on my machine. So we want to be nice to our machines. We don't want to be jumping all over the place and having to do cuts every 3 seconds. So here I'm looking at, have I joined all of my colours so that the most colours are stitching together? Have I done my right underlay? Do I have any underlay? Did I forget it? Maybe I'm getting through this and I'm like, oh, I digitized this for denim and now I'm going to do it on a really lightweight fabric. I need to pull up and change my underlay. So I actually use the player as a way to learn. By watching it on the screen first, not only am I learning and making sure I did the right job, but I also don't have to stitch it out. So I'm saving thread and fabric and stabilizer and time. So it's a good way to get better. Watch how you're doing things and practice, because yes, our end goal is to stitch it out, but sometimes, you know, we're learning the program. We've got to do things differently. One of my other really fun ones, because I use this when I have to sell things to people, is cycle used colours. So quite often if you're doing a design maybe for a corporate client, or you've got a limited thread colours to choose from because you're trying to match it from, the cycle used colours is one of those tools that's such a simple tool, and it's so useful in terms of this. Pull up our Sugar Skull design again, and we're going across to cycle used colours. Every time I click on it, it changes colours. But what it's doing is it's only using the colours within inside that colour palette. So I might be like, okay, I've just started, I've only got 5 colours, how good can I make this design look? Just keep cycling until you're like, that's the one I want. So it's one of those things, it seems really simple, but it makes our jobs easier, and it makes learning easier, particularly if you've seen a design, maybe you've copied something, and it's great. Cycle use colours, it's a good one. The Hatch Academy is possibly my all-time favourite part of actually Hatch, because what it is it's going to teach you how to be a digitizer. So the Academy is an entire series of lessons that come with your software that will take you through everything. You've never used an embroidery machine. There's a whole section on how to look at your backing, your stabilizers, your threads, your needles. It will take you from 0 all the way through. And the lessons are based on different things. So sometimes you might be like, I just want to know about lettering. Sometimes you're like, oh, there's a project. I can follow along with the project and learn. I really like that there's both options, that some are lessons and some are projects, because sometimes I don't want what that project is. I just want to know how to do that thing and then turn it into something else. So I love the fact that the Academy has it both. The Academy comes, as I said, free with your software. So as of this week, literally. The Academy is now free if you own Hatch. If you've got the 30-day free trial, which I'll talk about more in a moment, you get a limited selection, so you get a little bit of a taster of what's in the Academy. But the Academy will take you all the way through everything. And apparently all week I've been saying there's 200 expert lessons, and one of the others is like, you keep getting your numbers wrong, it's 500. So if you've listened to me more than once this week, I do apologise for that. So with the Academy, you can do the lessons at your own pace. So it's not like you're locked into anything. You can jump in and out at any point in time. If you've started something, you've gone away, done things and come back and like, I've forgotten how to do that. You can come back in and watch that lesson again. It's not like you watch it once and it goes away. In addition to the Academy, we also have over 150 blog posts, which are projects and posts written by our Hatch Embroidery experts. They often come out at different times, but you will often do seasonal things, so we'll do fun things for Easter or different projects, but all of them are based on different techniques, so you can learn more things. If anyone's looking for free designs, it's also a good spot to go check for the free designs. If you're like me and you love having a bit of a chat and you want to get inspired and see, someone's just said to me they come to the show to be inspired, you want to go to the community section of Hatch. You'll see us on all of the social medias. You'll literally see my hands on TikTok because I'm the one doing the embroidery on the TikTok. But you can also join our Facebook group. It has over 30,000 members. They post all the time and every day. It's just the most inspiring things that people are just doing. They're asking questions, they're helping each other out. It's a great place to be. Inside Hatch, inside the full version, there is over 400 free designs. The designs are ready for you to stitch out. Do check what size hoops you have and make sure that it fits your hoop size. If it doesn't fit your hoop size, you can resize it as well inside Hatch because you have the ability to do that. But there's lots of very beautiful designs inside there just waiting for you to stitch out. And here's some of the ones that we have got. Again, if you come on down to the stand, you can see a ton more. We'll do crafty puns for Easter, things that you can stitch out onto cushions, t-shirts, varying things. We had great fun with International Donut Day recently, so we now have a whole collection of donuts ones ready to come out. And we'll do these things for all of the international days that we can find, so there'll be different things coming up. So if you're like, oh, we're going to celebrate this at school and you need something, it's a good one to try. Inside Hatch, there are also designs from leading establishments such as Urban Threads or Embroidery Library. I know a lot of people love their designs. I've seen some of them stitched out on varying things throughout the show. Hatch has a selection of those as well. So you can go in, stitch them out and have a look. If there's anything you see on the stand, you can ask the name of it and find out that one for you as well. Stuck. Maybe something's gone wrong, your computer's wigging out, something stumped you and you're like, I'm not sure what's happening and this is more technical than I know what's happening. We have really great support. People are always on hand and we have members across the globe. So you can always raise a support ticket and someone's going to get you back. Someone put up their hand the other day and went, I just got into my computer remotely and fixed my problem in no time. So that backup is also there. If, however, you purchase and you're like, okay, this isn't for me, for whatever reason, there's also a full money-back guarantee for those 30 days. So we think it's such a great project. We know that you're going to love it, so we're going to offer a guarantee just in case it's not for you. But honestly, most people just love it and keep going. And lastly, we have our QR code, so you can scan to win. So there's also these down on the stand as well. We're actually giving away a copy of Digitizer, though this lady has assured me she's already winning it. So go thwart her plan and go join in. But yeah, everyone come and enter for that. It's a great opportunity to give it a try. Start with your 30-day free trial and fall in love with Hatch. Thanks so much for coming along. Come ask questions if you need to.